Uh, at the time that Mr. Depp injured his finger, Ms. Heard was a patient of Dr. Kipper, correct?
I'm not sure.
Do you recall whether Ms. Borum was already assigned to Ms. Heard?
I don't recall if she was working with her at that time.
Can we turn back to the nursing notes, which is Exhibit 23? And specifically, the entry for March 7th, which is on 1732.
This March 7th of 2014, or
Yes, it says 3/7/15. Do you see that?
oh, so 15. Hold on, no. Oh, I wasn't there on 14. Yes,
You said you saw a bruise on Miss Heard's arm at some point when you were in Australia, correct?
correct.
Do you have any understanding of how she got that bruise?
I do not.
Okay, directing your attention to the entry for March 7th, 2015. You see here it says MD received text message from client that he had been arguing with his wife and that he had cut his finger.
Yes, I see that.
Okay, so this is the date that you went and saw Mr. Depp after his injury, correct?
Correct.
Now, if I could direct your attention down to the portion that starts with 1530.
Okay.
It says MD cleaned and dressed wound to our middle finger. Do you see that?
Thank you.
What does our middle finger reflect?
Right.
And so Mr. Depp had cut his middle right finger, is that correct?
According to this, yes.
Now, if I could direct your attention down to the bottom part of this entry that starts with 1130. Do you see that?
I do.
Now, this starts with patient and staff returned from ER at 2130. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So, is it correct that the 1130 at the beginning of this is referring to 11:30 p.m.?
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
So this is the same day that you were notified that Mr. Depp had injured his finger, correct?
According to this, yes.
Okay. And this was also the same day that Mr. Depp was seen in the AER for his finger, correct? Okay. In the middle of the page here, do you see, or in the middle of this entry, do you see where it says, upon arrival back to apartment, patient discussed feelings of anger and sadness about his relationship. Patient was encouraged to stay away from wife as the relationship is toxic. Patient expressed verbal understanding and why they needed to separate. Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you have any recollection of this conversation beyond what's reflected in the notes?
I do not.
Do you have any reason to doubt the accuracy of what you documented in your notes?
I do not.
Do you recall advising Mr. Depp to stay away from Ms. Heard?
I don't recall anything other than what's stated in my notes.
Do you recall ever having the view that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's relationship was toxic?
Yes.
And what's the basis for that view?
conversations that he would share with me.
What did Mr. Depp share with you?
I don't remember specifics, just like things we've reviewed in my notes, that he would be emotional and that the relationship was causing him stress.
After Mr. Depp injured his finger in Australia, do you recall him coming back to LA?
Yeah, I don't recall specifics, but I know we did return to LA at some point.
Was Mr. Depp's hand bandaged at all?
Yes.
And why was that?
Beforehand we kept it bandaged to keep it clean, and then he had surgery and it was bandaged after the surgery.
Do you recall that Mr. Depp had pins in his finger?
Yes.
Do you recall Mr. Depp reporting that his finger was in pain?
Yes.
How would he report his pain to you?
I have to review my notes for specifics.
Well, let's take a look at the entry in your notes for March 23rd, 2015, which is on page, it starts on page 1735 and goes on to 736.
I see it.
Actually, before we turn to that one, do you see in the entry above for 322.15? Do you see that entry?
Yep.
Okay, and do you see next to 20, the portion of the entry that starts with 2015? You see in the middle it says currently 5/10?
Yes.
Do you know what that refers to?
It's a pain scale.
Okay. And is that how Mr. Depp would report his pain to you?
According to my notes.
Okay. Okay, so now going to the entry for March 23rd. First of all, do you see the portion of the entry that starts with 120?
Yes.
Is this 1:20 in the morning? AM?
According to this, yes.
Okay. Do you see it says patient states his wife is trying to argue with him?
I see that.
Okay. And again, you have no reason to doubt the accuracy of your note.
Correct.
Okay. Turning to the next page, do you see the portion of the note that starts with 5:45?
Yes.
And it says call to loft, correct? What does that refer to?
I don't know specifically. Loft is where they were living.
Is that the Eastern Columbia building?
Correct.
And then the next two sections of this note says 820 Torrid Val, and then at 1445, the same thing. Do you see that? What is that referring to?
Incomplete notes. It would have been Toradol and Valium administered.
And do you have any recollection as to why those medications would have been administered?
They were for his pain.
Okay. And then do you see below that it says FU Thursday afternoon and Tuesday afternoon, skin graft bandage off, week from Tuesday, pin off in 2 weeks.
Yes.
What does this reflect?
I don't recall.
Did Mr. Depp have a skin graft on his finger?
He did.
And I think you just testified, he had pins in his fingers as well, right? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Correct.
Okay. So at this time on March 23rd, he had bandages and a skin graft and pins in his finger.
According to this, yes.
And then, do you see in the section that starts with 2000, patient informed wife is coming to talk to him and he became extremely anxious. Do you see that?
I do.
Do you have any recollection of why Mr. Depp was anxious?
I do not.
Do you remember being present for a fight with Mr. Depp, between Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, shortly after Mr. Depp returned from Australia?
I don't remember specifics.
Do you recall a fight when Amber's sister Whitney was present?
I don't recall.
Can we please pull up document H, please?
Exhibit 27.
Now, just for the record, this is a document that has the base number WH106 through 109. And Ms. Lloyd, you're not included on this, but I just want to direct your attention to the first text message here. I can represent to you, these are text messages between Erin Borum and Whitney Heard.
Okay.
And before I proceed, do you know who Whitney Heard is?
Yes.
Have you met her before?
Yes.
On how many occasions have you met Whitney?
I don't recall.
And what is Whitney's relation to Miss Heard?
Sister.
So this first text message appears to be from Erin Borum, and it says, Debbie just, and it's on it's at 14:32 in military time on the date March 23rd, 2015. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and it says, Debbie just told me what is going on and to check with you. Is Amber awake or fall asleep? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Do you recall reaching out to Erin Borum on this date?
I do not.
Directing your attention down to Whitney's, to 3 messages down from Whitney. Or excuse me, let's go up. Do you see that Whitney responds to Erin, she finally fell asleep. And then Erin says, thank goodness, she must be exhausted. Do you want me to come to the loft or is she safe and sound asleep? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Whitney responds, safe? No, she's not. She keeps saying she wants to kill herself. Do you see that?
I do.
Did you ever hear Miss Heard say that she wanted to kill herself?
No.
Okay. Do these text messages combined with your notes refresh your recollection about an incident that occurred on March 23rd, 2015?
I remember an incident, but I don't remember the dates of it.
What incident are you remembering?
There was an incident where Johnny and Amber got into a fight at the lofts.
And what do you remember about that?
I was staying next door at a hotel, and security had come to get me, saying that they had had an argument and Johnny wanted to go back to 86. So
Is that is 86 the Sweet Serve property?
yes.
Okay, sorry, continue.
And so I went to the lofts, and I remember that night Amber was already leaving. She was in the lobby when we walked through, and when she saw that I was coming, she came back up to the apartment.
And what happened when Miss Heard came back up to their apartment?
I don't remember specifically what happened. I remember Johnny was sitting outside and we went to leave, and somehow we didn't end up leaving.
And why didn't you end up leaving?
I don't remember.
Do you remember who else was in the apartment?
I remember Travis, one of the security guards, was there.
Anyone else that you can remember?
I don't remember exactly who else was there.
And is Travis McGivern?
Correct.
Do you recall seeing Miss Heard throw anything at Mr. Depp?
I do not.
Do you remember Mr. Depp throwing anything at Miss Heard?
I don't recall.
Do you remember witnessing any physical violence on that occasion?
I saw Johnny push over one of Amber's clothing racks.
Okay. No physical violence directed at
No
a human, correct? Okay. Okay. And then you said you didn't end up leaving the apartment after that, correct?
At some point that night we left.
And when you say we, who does that include?
Myself, Johnny, and Travis.
And where did you go?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know where Amber went that night?
I don't know.
Okay. But she didn't come with you?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been